Most people never realize the moment their future quietly slips away. It does not happen during a crisis. It does not arrive with a warning. It happens every morning when the alarm rings and they choose comfort over control. This is where the story begins. Not with luck, not with talent, not with money, but with a choice. Years ago, a young man named Daniel believed the same lie most Americans believe. He thought his income was decided by his job, his boss, the economy, and the cards life had dealt him. He worked hard, showed up on time, paid his bills, and still felt stuck. Every year looked exactly like the one before it. More effort. Same results. Daniel was not lazy. He was disciplined in all the wrong ways. He followed rules that kept him safe but never moved him forward. He woke up just in time to rush. He checked his phone before he checked his purpose. He reacted to the world instead of directing his life. One evening, exhausted and frustrated, Daniel came across an old book by Napoleon Hill. The words struck him like a hammer. Not because they were complex, but because they were painfully simple. Your life changes only when your habits change. That sentence refused to leave his mind. Hill wrote that success is not an accident. It is the result of definite habits practiced with persistence. Wealth, he said, is not attracted by wishing. It is attracted by becoming. Daniel realized something uncomfortable. Nothing outside of him needed to change first. He did. The next morning, his alarm rang at 5 a.m. Every instinct told him to stay in bed. His mind produced excuses with impressive creativity. He was tired. He deserved rest. Tomorrow would be better. Then he remembered Hill's words. Desire backed by decision creates power. Daniel stood up. That single act felt insignificant. It was not. Most people wake up when life demands their attention. Successful people wake up before life gets a vote. This is the first habit that separates those who earn more from those who only hope to. The early morning is not about productivity alone. It is about dominance over self. When you rise early, you prove that your goals are stronger than your comfort. You send a signal to your subconscious that you are in command. Daniel sat in silence while the world slept. No emails. No noise. No interruptions. For the first time in years, his thoughts were his own. He began to think instead of react. To plan instead of rush. Napoleon Hill taught that thoughts are things. But only focused thoughts create results. The morning hours give you the power to focus without resistance. Daniel used that hour with intention. He read about wealth. Not get-rich-quick nonsense, but principles. He wrote down exactly what he wanted and why he wanted it. He reviewed his finances without fear. He planned his day so every action served a purpose. This was not motivation. This was conditioning. Each morning he repeated the habit. Some days were hard. Some days he failed. But he returned to the discipline because Hill's philosophy was clear. Persistence is the foundation of success. Within weeks, something shifted. Daniel felt sharper, calmer, more confident. His energy no longer collapsed by midday. His decisions improved. Opportunities appeared that had always existed but were previously invisible to him. This is the law most people never understand. Time is the only asset you cannot earn back. The early riser gains time before anyone else shows up to compete for it. 1 hour a day may seem small, but Napoleon Hill emphasized the power of accumulation. Small advantages compounded daily create overwhelming results. 1 hour becomes 7 per week. 7 becomes 30 per month. 30 becomes more than 300 per year. That is nearly 9 extra work weeks. Not overtime. Not stress. Pure, focused progress. While others slept, Daniel was building mental capital. While others complained about unfairness, he was investing time. While others reacted to emergencies, he was executing plans. Hill often wrote about the mastermind principle, the idea that success begins in the mind before it appears in the world. The morning is where the mind is shaped. Most people waste their best mental hours scrolling, worrying, or rushing. Successful people guard the morning like a vault. Daniel learned to protect that hour fiercely. No social media. No news. No distractions. Only growth. This habit did something deeper than improved productivity. It rewired his identity. He no longer saw himself as someone trying to succeed. He saw himself as someone preparing to win. Hill explained that the subconscious accepts what you repeatedly act upon. Each early morning told Daniel's mind a new story. I am disciplined. I am serious. I finish what I start. Income follows identity. As months passed, Daniel's results changed. His performance at work improved. His confidence attracted new responsibilities. His ideas were clearer. His value increased. And as Hill promised, when value increases, income must follow. This was not magic. It was alignment. The universe responds to discipline because discipline creates clarity. Clarity creates action. Action creates results. The greatest mistake people make is underestimating simple habits because they expect success to feel dramatic. Hill warned against this thinking. He wrote that riches grow from the accumulation of many small efforts, carefully planned and executed with persistence. The pillow is the first enemy of success. If you cannot defeat it, you cannot defeat financial struggle. Daniel understood now. The battle for wealth begins when the alarm sounds. When that battle and the rest of the day bends in your favor. This is why mastering the morning is the first habit. Without it, no other habit survives. Without control of your time, you cannot control your income. Hill taught that desire must be backed by daily action. The morning is where desire is converted into discipline. If you rise early, you rise above average thinking. If you rise early, you gain time, clarity, and control. If you rise early, you begin to command your future instead of begging it. Daniel's life did not change overnight. But it changed permanently. And it all began with one decision made before sunrise. This is only the beginning. In the next part, you will discover the second habit that multiplies income through knowledge, and why stopping learning is the silent killer of financial growth. But remember this first truth. If you cannot master your morning, you will never master money. The door is open. The alarm is set. The choice is yours. Part 2. The mind that could not be taken. Most people lose their future quietly. Not through failure, not through bad luck, but through neglect. They stop learning. And when learning stops, income soon follows. Daniel did not understand this at first. He believed education ended with school, that learning was something you finished, not something you lived. Like most people, he thought experience alone would carry him forward. Years passed, but his income stayed still. The world moved faster while he stayed the same. Then one day, he noticed something unsettling. The people earning more than him were not always smarter. They were not always more talented. But they always seemed to know something he did not. That observation changed everything. Napoleon Hill wrote that riches are attracted to those who develop a definite purpose and then acquire the knowledge required to achieve it. Not random knowledge. Not entertainment disguised as learning. But focused knowledge with intent. Daniel realized he had been drowning in information but starving for understanding. Information was everywhere. News. Videos. Opinions. Social media advice. Endless noise. Yet none of it moved his life forward. It filled his time but not his mind. Knowledge, he learned, was different. Knowledge had direction. Knowledge solved problems. Knowledge produced results. Daniel made a decision that night. He would become a student again. Not casually. Not when convenient. But deliberately. Every morning after waking early, he read with purpose. Not whatever was trending, but what mattered. He studied money. Human behavior. Communication. Leadership. He read books written by men and women who had built fortunes from nothing and left behind their thinking for anyone willing to listen. Hill often said that the greatest mentors in history are available to anyone who opens a book. They wrote so their mistakes would not have to be repeated. They failed so others could succeed faster. Daniel understood something most people never do. You do not need personal access to great minds. You need humility and discipline. The mentors he needed were waiting patiently on library shelves. Day after day, Daniel studied not to impress, but to apply. He asked one question constantly. How does this help me create value? That question changed how his brain worked. He stopped consuming information passively. He began hunting for knowledge. He learned how businesses actually made money. Why some people were paid more than others. How problems turned into profit for those who knew how to solve them. Hill taught that income is always tied to value rendered. And value is created by specialized knowledge used with imagination. Daniel noticed something else. The more he learned, the more confident he became. Not loud confidence. Quiet certainty. The kind that does not need approval. His ideas improved. His conversations changed. People listened differently. Then something unexpected happened. The fear he carried about the future began to fade. Why? Because knowledge cannot be taken. Markets crash. Jobs disappear. Companies fail. Hill warned about this long before modern economies proved him right again and again. External security is an illusion, but the knowledge in your mind stays. Daniel realized that even if everything collapsed tomorrow, what he knew would remain. And that knowledge could always be exchanged for income in some form. A trained mind adapts. An untrained mind panics. This is why continuous learning is the habit of continuous earning. Daniel committed to learning something useful every day. Not overwhelming himself. Just steady progress. One idea. One principle. One skill. The compound effect was undeniable. He began seeing opportunities where others saw obstacles. He solved problems faster. He became harder to replace. His value increased, and income followed naturally. Hill explained that success grows from organized knowledge combined with action. Without action, knowledge is potential only. But applied knowledge becomes power. Daniel applied what he learned immediately. He tested ideas. Adjusted. Improved. He was no longer waiting for permission to grow. And then he discovered the next habit that multiplied everything he was learning. The way he spoke. Before, Daniel spoke cautiously. He softened his words. He hesitated. He apologized too much. His language betrayed doubt even when his ideas were strong. Hill wrote that thoughts mixed with emotion become reality. Words are the bridge between thought and action. Daniel studied how successful people communicated. He noticed patterns. They spoke clearly. They spoke directly. They spoke with certainty, not arrogance. Authority. Daniel practiced changing his language. He removed weak phrases. He stopped saying maybe when he meant no. He stopped saying I think when he knew. He stopped shrinking himself to make others comfortable. He also changed the most important conversation of all. The one inside his head. For years, his internal voice had been critical. Doubtful. Fearful. It narrated limitation. That voice had shaped his reality. Hill warned that negative self-talk is the most destructive habit a person can carry. Daniel rewrote the script. He spoke to himself as the person he was becoming. Capable. Focused. Valuable. He acknowledged progress daily. The results were immediate and undeniable. Doors opened. Conversations shifted. Opportunities appeared. People treat you the way you teach them to treat you. And your words do the teaching. This is not motivation. This is psychology. Your income responds to how you present your value. By the time Daniel recognized this, he also understood something deeper. Learning without discipline wastes time. And time is the final gatekeeper. Hill emphasized that time is life itself. Waste it and life wastes you. Daniel began guarding his hours. He learned to say no. Not emotionally. Strategically. He cut distractions. Reduced noise. Protected focus. He audited his time honestly and eliminated what did not serve his goals. He scheduled learning during peak energy. Applied it during peak focus. His life simplified. His results expanded. This was not sacrifice. It was alignment. Time invested in growth always pays. Time wasted always charges interest. Daniel finally saw the pattern clearly. Wake early. Learn intentionally. Speak with purpose. Protect time. Each habit strengthened the next. This was not about working harder. It was about working smarter with discipline. Napoleon Hill wrote that success is the result of habits deliberately cultivated. Daniel was no longer hoping. He was building. And this was only part 2 of his transformation. In the next part, you will discover how disciplined speech and internal dialogue create financial momentum and why confidence is not a personality trait but a practiced habit. Remember this truth. A trained mind is unstoppable. A focused mind is dangerous. A learning mind is wealthy. And no force on earth can take that from you. Part 3. The room that decided his future. Most people do not fail alone. They fail in groups. They fail sitting at tables filled with doubt, laughter without progress, and conversations that go nowhere. They fail slowly, comfortably, surrounded by people who make stagnation feel normal. Daniel did not realize this truth until one quiet evening changed everything. He had been working harder than ever. He woke early. He learned daily. He protected his time. Yet something still felt heavy. His progress was steady, but not explosive. He felt resistance he could not explain. Then he noticed a pattern. Every time he felt inspired, someone talked him out of it. Every time he aimed higher, someone laughed it off. Every time he changed, someone reminded him of who he used to be. Napoleon Hill warned clearly that the people you associate with shape your destiny more than circumstances ever will. Success is contagious. So is failure. Daniel began paying attention to the conversations around him. Complaints about bosses. Complaints about money. Complaints about life being unfair. And no solutions. No ownership. No growth. He realized something uncomfortable. He was sitting in rooms that were shrinking him. Hill wrote that your environment is stronger than your willpower. You can be disciplined, but if you are surrounded by low standards, they will slowly pull you down without asking permission. Daniel did something most people are afraid to do. He evaluated his circle honestly, not with anger, not with judgment, but with clarity. He asked himself difficult questions. Do these people challenge me to grow? Do they speak about ideas or only problems? Do they celebrate progress or feel threatened by it? Do they push me forward or pull me back? The answers hurt. Many people he cared about were comfortable where they were. They did not want more because wanting more required responsibility. They did not want growth because growth demands discomfort. And comfort is addictive. Hill explained that the mastermind principle is one of the greatest forces on earth. When like-minded people align toward growth, their combined energy multiplies results. But the opposite is also true. When stagnant minds gather, they create invisible chains. Daniel saw the chains clearly now. He made a decision that felt lonely at first. He would choose his environment intentionally. This did not mean arrogance. It meant alignment. He began seeking people who lived differently. People who talked about building instead of blaming. People who respected time. People who expected excellence. At first, he felt out of place. These people spoke with clarity. They planned. They executed. They asked better questions. But something powerful happened. His standards rose automatically. Hill taught that we rise or fall to the level of our dominant associations. Daniel did not have to force discipline anymore. The room demanded it. Their habits became mirrors. If they read, he read. If they planned, he planned. If they acted, he acted. Success became normal. The biggest shift was internal. Daniel stopped doubting what was possible. Seeing others succeed removed mental limits he did not know he had. Hill emphasized that belief is formed through evidence. The right environment provides that evidence daily. Daniel realized that many people fail not because they lack talent, but because they lack exposure. Exposure to higher standards. Exposure to disciplined thinking. Exposure to belief. This is why environment matters more than motivation. Motivation fades. Environment shapes. Daniel did not abandon people cruelly. He simply reduced time with those who drained his energy and increased time with those who expanded his vision. This was not easy. Some relationships changed. Some ended. But something greater replaced them: growth. His income began to rise again. Not by accident. By alignment. Hill wrote that success requires harmony. When your habits, thoughts, environment, and goals align, progress accelerates naturally. Daniel now understood the compounding effect of time and people. Time invested with the wrong people is double loss. Time invested with the right people multiplies returns. He became intentional. He chose rooms carefully. He chose conversations wisely. He chose influence deliberately. His future felt lighter. Then Daniel noticed another transformation. The way he thought about money changed. He no longer chased it desperately. He focused on value. The people around him spoke about value constantly. How to solve problems. How to improve systems. How to help others win. Money followed naturally. Hill taught that riches are attracted by the person you become. Environment shapes who you become. Daniel finally understood why so many hardworking people stay broke. They are loyal to environments that reward mediocrity. He chose differently. And then he discovered something deeper. The right people do not just support you. They challenge you. They do not comfort your excuses. They confront them. They expect results. Daniel grew stronger under that pressure. He stopped explaining himself. He stopped justifying delays. He started executing faster. Growth became inevitable. This habit became a filter. If a relationship pulled him backward, it lost priority. If it pushed him forward, it gained investment. Life simplified. Hill emphasized that successful people protect their minds fiercely. Your mind is shaped by what it hears repeatedly. Daniel guarded his mental input. The results compounded. Confidence, clarity, income. This was not luck, this was law. The law of association. Daniel finally saw the truth. You do not rise to your goals. You rise to your environment. Most people wait for others to change. Successful people change rooms. And that choice determines everything. In the next part, you will discover the habit that separates those who start from those who finish. The habit of decisive action and why hesitation costs more than failure ever will. Remember this truth. Your circle predicts your ceiling. Your environment writes your future. Choose wisely. The room you sit in today decides the life you live tomorrow. Part 4. The moment he stopped waiting. Most people do not fail because they choose the wrong path. They fail because they never choose at all. They stand at the edge of opportunity their entire lives, staring at the distance, waiting for certainty, permission, or perfect timing. And while they wait, life moves on without them. Daniel used to be one of those people. He planned endlessly. He learned deeply. He surrounded himself with better influences. Yet there was a season when his progress slowed again. Not because he lacked knowledge. Not because he lacked discipline. But because he hesitated. Napoleon Hill wrote that one of the greatest causes of failure is the habit of procrastination, usually wrapped in the disguise of caution. The world is filled with people who know what to do but never do it. Daniel recognized himself in that truth. He had ideas that could increase his income. He had skills that were ready to be applied. But he kept refining, adjusting, waiting. He told himself he was being smart. In reality, he was being afraid. Fear of being wrong. Fear of criticism. Fear of failure. Hill taught that fear is the most destructive enemy of success, and that decisiveness is its cure. One night, Daniel asked himself a question that changed everything. What if waiting is the real risk? That question hit hard. He realized something painful but freeing. No plan becomes perfect by thinking. No income increases through preparation alone. No success arrives without action. The people who win are not those who know the most. They are the ones who act the fastest on what they know. Daniel made a decision that night. He would stop waiting for confidence and act first. Hill explained that confidence grows from action, not the other way around. The mind follows behavior. When you move, belief catches up. The next morning, Daniel took decisive action on an idea he had delayed for months. It was not flawless. It was not guaranteed. But it was real, and something powerful happened. Momentum. The moment he acted, his energy changed. His thinking sharpened. Solutions appeared that thinking alone never produced. Action created clarity. This is a law few people understand. Thinking prepares the ground. Action builds the structure. Daniel noticed that successful people around him shared one trait above all others. They decided quickly and adjusted quickly. Hill wrote that successful people make decisions promptly and change them slowly. Unsuccessful people do the opposite. Daniel saw his old pattern clearly now. He delayed decisions. He overanalyzed. He waited for certainty that never came. He reversed the pattern. Decide. Act. Adjust. Income began to respond. Opportunities that once felt intimidating became manageable once he stepped into them. Problems that seemed overwhelming shrank when faced directly. Fear lost its grip. Hill taught that persistence is the sustained effort necessary to induce faith. Not emotional excitement. Consistent action. Daniel committed to persistence. He decided that quitting was no longer an option. When something did not work, he did not retreat. He refined. When results came slowly, he stayed. When doubt appeared, he acted anyway. This separated him from most people. Most people start strong and stop early. Successful people start imperfectly and stay. Daniel learned that income rewards those who can tolerate discomfort longer than others. Every worthwhile result requires a season of uncertainty. Hill wrote that every adversity carries the seed of an equal or greater benefit. But only those who persist long enough ever find it. Daniel stopped interpreting obstacles as signs to stop. He saw them as signals to grow. This shift changed everything. He no longer feared mistakes. He feared stagnation. He no longer waited for motivation. He moved on discipline. Day by day, his income grew. Not explosively at first. Steadily. Reliably. Hill emphasized that riches come in response to definite plans carried out with persistence. Daniel's plan was no longer theoretical. It was alive. He tracked actions instead of fantasies. He measured effort instead of outcomes. He became consistent. Consistency became confidence. Confidence became influence. Influence became income. This was not luck. It was law. Daniel noticed something else. People began trusting him more. Why? Because he followed through. Hill wrote that dependability is a form of power. When people know you act, they listen. Daniel became known as someone who executes. That reputation opened doors. He was offered opportunities not because he was perfect, but because he was reliable. This is how income grows beyond effort. Trust multiplies value. Daniel finally understood why so many intelligent people stay stuck. They wait for readiness instead of creating it. Readiness is a myth. Action creates readiness. Hill warned that the habit of drifting is the greatest enemy of success. Drifters let life decide for them. Non-drifters decide deliberately. Daniel became a non-drifter. He chose his direction. He chose his pace. He chose persistence. And life responded. Challenges did not disappear. But he no longer feared them. Each challenge strengthened him. Each action reinforced belief. Each step built momentum. Daniel was no longer waiting for success. He was walking toward it daily. This habit became his turning point. Decisive action combined with persistence. Without this habit, knowledge remains unused. Environment remains potential. Discipline fades. With it, everything accelerates. Hill wrote that success requires a burning desire backed by action. Desire without action is only wishful thinking. Daniel stopped wishing. He started building. In the next part, you will discover the final habit that locks all others into place. The habit of definite purpose and why clarity of aim determines the size of your income more than effort ever will. Remember this truth. Action beats intention. Persistence beats talent. Decisiveness beats fear. The moment you stop waiting is the moment your life begins to change. Part 5. The power of knowing exactly what you want. Most people work hard their entire lives and never understand why their efforts lead nowhere. They are busy. They are tired. They are sincere. But they are directionless. An effort without direction is one of the greatest tragedies of human life. Daniel learned this truth later than he wished, but just in time to change everything. Why now? His habits were strong. He woke early. He learned constantly. He chose better people. He acted decisively and persisted. His income was rising, but something still felt scattered. Progress came, but it was uneven. Napoleon Hill warned that drifting is the silent destroyer of potential. Drifters move, but they do not aim. They work, but they do not direct their energy toward a definite target. Daniel realized he had discipline, but not absolute clarity. He was moving forward, but toward what exactly? One quiet morning, before the sun rose, Daniel asked himself a question he had avoided for years. What do I truly want? Not what sounds impressive. Not what others expect. Not what feels safe. What do I actually want my life to look like? The question was uncomfortable. Hill wrote that most people never decide what they want. They hope. They wish. They drift. But success demands a definite purpose clearly defined. Daniel understood that vague goals produce vague results. He sat down with a notebook and began writing. Not casually. Seriously. He defined his desired income with precision. He described the lifestyle it would support. He wrote down why he wanted it and who it would help beyond himself. As he wrote, something shifted. His mind focused. Hill taught that the subconscious responds powerfully to clarity. When you know exactly what you want, your mind begins searching relentlessly for ways to achieve it. Daniel had never given his mind that instruction before. For years, his goals were loose and uncertain. Now they were sharp. He noticed immediate changes. Decisions became easier. Distractions lost their appeal. Opportunities became obvious. Why? Because purpose acts as a filter. Anything that did not serve his aim was eliminated without guilt. Hill explained that success begins with a definite chief aim. Without it, persistence collapses and energy scatters. Daniel committed his purpose to memory. He reviewed it daily. He spoke it aloud with confidence, not as a wish, as a command. This practice felt strange at first. But Hill emphasized that repetition impresses belief upon the subconscious. Belief fuels action. Action produces results. Daniel noticed his confidence deepen. Not emotional confidence, but grounded certainty. He stopped chasing random opportunities. He focused on aligned ones. Income growth accelerated. This was not coincidence. Clarity multiplies effort. Two people can work the same hours with the same skills. The one with clearer purpose will always outperform the other. Daniel also discovered something unexpected. Purpose created resilience. When challenges appeared, he no longer questioned whether to continue. He knew why he started. Hill wrote that those who know their why can endure almost anyhow. Daniel endured. He stayed consistent during slow periods. He remained disciplined when results lagged, because quitting no longer made sense. Purpose anchored him. He also noticed how others responded differently to him. When he spoke about his plans, he spoke clearly. People listened. Some offered help. Others stepped aside. Clarity attracts allies and repels distractions. This is why purpose increases income beyond effort alone. Daniel became known as someone with direction. Trust followed. Opportunities followed. Hill emphasized that riches are attracted to those who know what they want and move toward it with determination. Daniel moved daily. He aligned his habits to his purpose. Learning became targeted. Time became strategic. Action became focused. Waste disappeared. This is when Daniel realized something profound. Most people do not fail because they lack ability. They fail because they lack aim. A ship without a destination drifts until it runs aground. A person without purpose does the same. Daniel refused to drift again. He refined his purpose regularly. He adjusted methods, but never the aim. Hill taught that plans may change, but the chief aim must remain fixed. Daniel lived by that rule. As months passed, his income stabilized at a higher level. Growth became predictable. This was not hustle. This was alignment. Purpose gave meaning to effort. Meaning fueled consistency. Daniel no longer needed external motivation. He was internally driven. This is the difference between temporary success and lasting wealth. Temporary success relies on excitement. Lasting wealth relies on purpose. Daniel felt grounded, calm, certain. He was no longer chasing success. He was building it. And yet, there was one final habit that made everything unbreakable. A habit that determined whether all others would last or collapse under pressure. In the final part, you will discover the habit of self-discipline and emotional control and why mastering yourself is the ultimate requirement for mastering income. Remember this truth. Effort without purpose is wasted motion. Clarity turns work into progress. A definite aim turns discipline into destiny. When you know exactly what you want, the world starts making room for you. Part 6. The discipline that decided everything. Most people believe success is about doing more. It is not. It is about mastering yourself. This is the final truth Daniel had to learn, and it was the hardest one of all. Why now? His life looked very different from the one he used to live. His income had grown. His habits were strong. His purpose was clear. People respected him. Opportunities appeared regularly. But there were still moments when everything felt fragile. Moments when frustration whispered. Moments when anger flared. Moments when old habits tried to return. Napoleon Hill warned that no one can achieve lasting success without self-discipline. Talent fails without it. Knowledge collapses without it. Purpose weakens without it. Daniel discovered that the final enemy was not the world. It was himself. There were days when progress slowed. Days when deals fell through. Days when effort did not produce immediate reward. In the past, those moments would have broken him. Now, they tested him. Hill wrote that emotional control is one of the highest forms of power. Those who allow emotions to rule them become slaves to circumstance. Those who master emotion command their destiny. Daniel began paying close attention to his reactions. When things went wrong, did he complain or correct? When people disappointed him, did he explode or evaluate? When fear appeared, did he retreat or remain steady? He realized something humbling. Every setback was an invitation to grow stronger. The world was not testing his luck. It was testing his discipline. Daniel committed to mastering his inner world. He stopped reacting instantly. He paused. He thought. He chose. This single change transformed everything. Hill taught that self-control begins with thought control. You cannot stop emotions from arising, but you can stop them from taking control. Daniel practiced daily mental discipline. He refused to dwell on anger. He redirected fear into preparation. He replaced frustration with focus. This was not suppression. It was leadership. He became the leader of his own mind. As a result, people trusted him more. Pressure no longer shook him. Crisis no longer rattled him. Income followed stability. This is a truth few understand. Money flows toward those who can handle responsibility calmly. Daniel also mastered delayed gratification. Hill emphasized that the ability to sacrifice short-term pleasure for long-term reward separates successful people from everyone else. Daniel stopped impulsive spending. He stopped chasing instant wins. He invested patiently. He learned to say no to comfort today so he could say yes to freedom tomorrow. This discipline compounded everything he had built. His habits became automatic. His confidence became quiet. His success became sustainable. Daniel finally understood why so many people rise quickly and fall just as fast. They never mastered themselves. Without discipline, success collapses under pressure. With discipline, it grows stronger. Daniel reached a point where external validation no longer mattered. He worked whether anyone noticed or not. He stayed focused whether results came quickly or slowly. Hill wrote that self-discipline turns desire into achievement. Daniel lived that truth. He was no longer chasing wealth. He had become the kind of person wealth follows. This was the final transformation. Not louder, not busier, but steadier. Daniel looked back at the man he used to be and barely recognized him. The difference was not intelligence, not opportunity, not luck. It was habits. 6 Habits practiced daily. Mastering the morning, learning relentlessly, choosing the right people, acting decisively with persistence, living with definite purpose, controlling himself with discipline. These habits built a foundation that could not be shaken. Hill taught that success is something you attract by the person you become. Daniel became disciplined, and the world responded. This story is not about Daniel alone. It is about you. You are standing where Daniel once stood. Surrounded by choices. Pulled by comfort. Distracted by noise. But the path is clear. Nothing is missing. No secret opportunity. No special permission. No perfect timing. Only habits waiting to be practiced. You do not need to change your entire life today. You need to change one decision. Wake earlier. Learn deliberately. Choose better influence. Act without hesitation. Define your purpose. Master yourself. Do this consistently, and your income will follow. Not by magic. By law. If this message spoke to you, do not let it end here. Subscribe so you never miss the next lesson. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Leave a comment and commit publicly to one habit you will start today. Your future self is watching and waiting for you to decide. This is the end of the story, but it can be the beginning of yours.